Now, imagine that you have written all the clauses into your query in order to retrieve the data, right from the select clause to the limit clause. Now, what is the flow of writing the query? What are the flow of writing the clauses, and how does a clause is executing and retrieving the data from the database which is stored into the database server? Now, this is one of the most important thing when it comes to the flow of the query or the flow of the clauses, which needs to be known when you have implemented multiple clauses into your query. So what ideally happens or what actually happens when a query is written, how each clause should be placed within a query and how the execution happens. Let's try to understand the same. So, we will understand the flow of query with respect to its writing statements as well as with respect to its execution over here. So, first let's try to understand with respect to its writing statements that how the query is written over here. So, with respect to the writing logic, how the clauses should be placed. So, you all must be knowing that when you start retrieving the data, when you start fetching the data from the databases, you definitely start with something known as select. So, whenever you write a clause, the clause usually starts with a thing known as select. There are certain instances where it starts with a with clause, usually during your CTs or common table expressions. But at usual, you will always write your retrieval statement starting from select. So the first part which is written into your query is select. Now after select, which clause is going to come? You all must be knowing the syntax. Select star from table, which is there, or select column list from table. So after select, we usually write something called as from. But do you remember that there was a clause known as distinct? It was supposed to be written with select statements. So after select, if you are required to find out the distinct elements from the data, so you will write something called as distinct over here. So the next clause which is written is nothing but distinct. Now, what after distinct? What is going to come after the distinct statement? Definitely your from statement. So select distinct column list from and the table name which is there. So here you will mention something called as from. That is, after writing select into your query, after writing a distinct clause over there to find out the unique elements from the same, you will mention something called as from. From will help you to go to from which data, from which table element you want to fetch this data over here. So from will be written after that. After from, you will definitely write something called as joins. Now we know that we have written where clause, but there are instances where you have to combine two tables or more than two tables to show it into the result set. So what are we going to write over here after from? Is nothing but joins. If the join is not there, then you can proceed with something called as where. So in terms of writing flow, you will write joins over here into the statement after from. So after you have joined the two tables, then you will try to filter it out on the basis of where clause which is there. So you can filter out the rows with respect to the criteria which you want or the search condition which you want after joining the table with the help of where clause. Now after writing a where clause, what do we implement? We group the data. After filtering, if there is a requirement of grouping the data, we definitely group the data over here. So I'll write something called as group by. That group by will help me to group the result set with respect to the outcome which needs to be shown. So group by would be written for the same over here. And let's say if I have grouped the data but I wanted to filter out the group results over here. So how will I do it? I'll write something called as having. So if I wanted to filter out the group results, I will mention something called as having. And after mentioning having, let's say I wanted to sort the data over here on the basis of the counts, on the basis of the names which I have gathered, I'll definitely write something called as order by. So I'll mention something called as order by over here. And then at the end comes your limit statements. So what is coming over here after order by is nothing but your limit. That what are the limited records which you wanted to show in the outcome. So this is how the query flow is supposed to be written over here. Now let me write a query with the same flow which I have mentioned over here, and let me show you that how a query will be executed or will be written over here. Let me write it down over here itself. So when I write a query, what I will do, I will first start with select. So select is going to be the first part over here when the query is written. Now after select, I write something called as distinct into my query. So I have written distinct. Now imagine that I have data related to the employees and departments. I wanted to solve a question and I'm writing a query for the same. So I'll write select distinct and I write something called as department name. Let me write it down with a different color. That's a column name. So I'll write it over here as department. Which is there. And here, let's say I want the department project name, which it is working. And then I will find out how many employees are there. So I'll write count star over here, which is the same, which I'm doing over here. So count star. So I've written those columns over here. So I wrote select distinct department project count star from. Now from which table I want this? I want this from which table? From the employees table. So I'll write what the employees over here. So what I want the employees table to be mentioned. Now definitely I want to join this criteria over here. So I had a joining statement and I wanted to do is inner join. So I wrote inner join and I wanted to join a table known as departments where the project and other related informations are found. So I will join the data on the basis of departments, which was there. I named it as E. I'll name it as D. So it becomes very easy for me to write the query. So obviously with join, I'll have a joining condition because without joining condition, it will not filter out the data for me. So I'll write on a joining condition. What's the joining condition? E dot department ID is equals to D dot department ID. So that is a joining condition which I have mentioned over here. And then after writing this, I'll write where. Now where? What's the criteria? I want to only take those employees where the salary is greater than 30,000. So I have filtered the data over here, and then after filtering out with the help of where clause, I want to group the data. So group by. You remember the column which are there in group by should be a part of my select. In select there is something called as department and project. So I want to group the data first on the basis of department and then on the basis of projects which are there, which is being worked upon over here. So I have done the same. After grouping the data, what I am mentioning over here is nothing but having. Let's say I say that filter out those departments and project names where the count of the employee is also greater than 2. So more than 2 employees should be working on the department based projects, which was there. So after that, I mentioned that I wanted to sort this data over here. So order by, I wanted to sort on the basis of, let's say, the count, which was there. So I'm sorting the data on the basis of count. So count star. In which order? In descending order, which I'm mentioning. And I wanted to see the top 3. So which of the departments and projects have more employees working in it. So top 3, and I limit the statement with the help of limit 3 records over here. So this is how I have written the entire query with respect to all the clauses. Now, one question which comes into mind that when you see the query statement written over here is the way the query is written, is it the same way that it is executing and showing me the result set? The answer is no. The flow of execution and the flow of writing of the query is totally different from each other. So if I wanted to show you the flow of execution, the flow of execution means how the query executes and give me the outcome, is not how it is supposed to be written. So the flow of execution is totally different from what it is being written. So how does a query goes and executes and fetch the data over here? Let me understand with the statement which I have written. Now imagine select distinct department projects count star. This is not running first. Whenever a query is written, always it will execute the from clause very first. So what is being executed when a data is being fetched from the query is nothing but the from clause. So as per my query which I have written, it will first go to the employees table which is there. So it will select the employees table, and after that what it is going to execute? Is it going to execute select for us? No. After from, it is going to go and do the joining statements if available. So do I have joins into my data? Yes. So it will go and take employees data, join the department's data with each other over here. With respect to which join do we want? We want it with respect to the inner join. So it has joined the data with respect to the inner join. So first the from executed when the query is generating the result set. After that, joins have been executed. Now, what is going to execute later is nothing but where clause and not the select. Even though we have started the query with select, the select is not executed first. First, the from is being selected and from is working. Later on, joins are being implemented when the outcome is generated, and then comes the where clause. So it will filter out the data based on the condition. Over here, it will join the two tables first and then filter out those employees who are having salaries greater than 30,000. After filtering, do you think so now select is working? No. It will group the data then. So it will implement what? It will implement group by for us. So it will create the groups on which the data is supposed to be grouped. So on what basis I want to group the data? I want to group the data on the basis of departments and projects. So all the filtered records will be grouped now on the basis of departments and projects with respect to finding their count over here. So grouped has been done. Is it now that select is executing? No. It is now executing the having statements. Now what is having saying? I wanted to find out or filter out the result set having count of the employees greater than 1. So it is executing that. Now after executing having, after filtering out the group data, what is going to execute? Is it going to execute order by? No. Now it will select the select statements. So after having, what it is going to select over here is the select statements, that it will select the data which is supposed to be shown in the outcome into the select column list. So after selecting the table, joining the tables, filtering out the result sets based on the where condition, grouping the data which is filtered, and then filtering the group data with the help of having, now the select statement will be selected to generate the outcome. And select statement will select the columns which are available into the column list. After that, what is going to execute? Is order by going to execute? No. It will execute the distinct clause. What is distinct clause? You remember that distinct clause will give me distinct result set or unique result sets which are there. So distinct will be executed over here. And after distinct, it is going to now execute and do order by sorting. So order by happens after distinct, and at the end limit is being working or limit is being executing to show me the limited set of records from the query. So the query which I have written the flow which the query has maintained while it was written, the same flow is not maintained when it is executing or when it is fetching the data, retrieving the data from the databases. So that's why this is one of the important interview question when it is asked that how do we write the clauses within the query and how do we execute the clauses, what is a flow of query written and what is a flow of execution of the clauses within the query, because both of them are not same, they are totally different from each other. So this was flow of execution of the queries which is there, and this is how clauses are executed when a query is being written with all the clauses. So I hope we are clear with the same.